Hello, my name's Cliff Stevenson and I'm the Helpful Economist. This time we're looking at the recent agreement between the EU and UK on the Northern Ireland Protocol, specifically at the customs arrangements that will apply at the Northern Ireland border. So following Brexit, the UK, including Northern Ireland, and the EU are completely separate customs territories. And this means that the border between Northern Ireland and Ireland is the UK-EU customs border. This means that goods moving between GB and Northern Ireland are effectively internal UK transactions, in principle similar to goods moving between, say, Liverpool and Manchester. However, a physical border between Northern Ireland and Ireland is not possible. This means that for products destined for the EU that will pass through Northern Ireland, EU customs needs to be applied at the Northern Ireland border. Legally, there isn't a customs border in the Irish Sea, but in effect it operates like one. So what does this mean in practice? Take the situation where goods are coming into the UK from around the world. The goods clear customs on the GB mainland and they're loaded onto a lorry, perhaps mixed with some goods produced in GB. The goods are then moved from the GB mainland into Northern Ireland, and whether an EU duty is payable depends on where the goods will end up. Goods ending up in the Northern Ireland market won't pay any duty, but non-GB goods moved into Ireland are liable to pay EU duty. And the problem is that there's no way of applying these EU duties once the goods are in the Northern Ireland market. And this was one of the major issues that the Northern Ireland Protocol had to address. Thus, the Northern Ireland Protocol arrangements provide for the collection of EU duties at the Northern Ireland border for goods at risk of being moved into Ireland. So how did the EU and UK resolve this problem? Well, the Windsor Framework effectively establishes red and green customs channels. The green channel can be used in certain strict conditions. Firstly, the goods must be moved by an authorised importer. Secondly, they must be sold to the final consumer in Northern Ireland. And thirdly, they mustn't be subject to any commercial processing, i.e. turned into other products, although there are some exceptions to this. For goods that meet these criteria, no duties will be applied, and there'll be minimum documentation requirements and customs checks. All other products will have to go through the red channel, where duties will be applied to non-UK products, and full export documentation will be required. By the way, an interesting fact is that the UK authorities will be able to keep any EU duties collected. They don't have to be paid to the EU. So the red channel applies for goods that will eventually be sold in Ireland, but it also applies to goods not qualifying for the green channel. So this would be the case where the goods are moved not by an authorised importer, where some commercial processing is taking place that isn't covered by the exceptions, or where the sale isn't to the final consumer. Goods where the destination isn't known also have to go through the red channel. So let's say there's a shipment of non-UK goods going to a distributor in Northern Ireland. In this case, the duty will be applied to all the products, even if some of them will end up staying in Northern Ireland. However, once the end destination is known, there will be the possibility to reclaim the duty back, where it can be established that the goods actually stayed in Northern Ireland. It's still not 100% exactly what is required to go through the green channel. The UK committed to a lot in terms of monitoring and enforcement, and some of the details still have to be worked out. But we can say that the EU made some major concessions here. In the original Northern Ireland Protocol, all products being moved between GB and Northern Ireland required full export documentation. The Windsor Framework provides for minimum documentation requirements for goods going through the Green Channel. But what do we know about what's required for goods going through the Green Channel? Well, we know that authorised importers or trusted traders will have to complete some export documentation via an online portal, but that there'll be a reduced data set for goods using the Green Channel. A normal UK export declaration requires the completion of 80 fields of data. The compromise reached by the EU and UK was that goods going through the Green Channel would only have to provide 21 fields of data. And this wouldn't involve having to identify the customs codes. A detailed description of the product would be enough. Interestingly, the UK has committed to provide the customs codes for each movement of goods based on the descriptions, which seems like quite a big commitment that the UK's taken on there. The government has said that authorised importers will only have to provide information that they already hold in terms of moving goods from GB mainland to the Isle of Wight. And while strictly speaking this is true, no no similar declaration is required in moving goods to the Isle of Wight. So it is a fact that there is some friction created for goods using the Green Channel. In conclusion, the Northern Ireland Protocol does provide a practical solution to how EU duties are collected. This was a difficult issue to resolve, and the EU and UK both made compromises. There is going to be some friction for movement of goods between GB and Northern Ireland, but at the same time the EU made many compromises to minimise that friction. I hope you found this information useful. I'm Cliff Stevenson, I'm the Helpful Economist. See you next time.